My name is Trine Eklund. I'm from Oslo, Norway. It's the 31st of January 2013, and I will tell you a little about the Norwegian Peace Movement. The Norwegian Peace Movement celebrated its 50 years anniversary last November with a book that we has written together called Struggle for Peace. And we also had a seminar that we dedicated to young people and young politicians. It was very interesting, actually, and why we celebrated it over 50 years anniversary is because the first peace office was opened in 1962. I'm a peace activist since 1980, when we walked the Nordic women's peace marches against nuclear weapons in East and West. We walked in 1991 from Copenhagen to Paris, then in 82 from Stockholm, Moscow, Minsk, and in 83 it was called Oslo, New York, Washington. And since then, I've been a member of the Peace Movement, Norwegian Peace Association. Today, we actually celebrate our 50 years anniversary for Norwegian Peace Movement. The Norwegian Peace Movement started in 1962. I was not a member then. I was not dedicated to the peace work. In that period, I first saw, or shall we say, tried to find my way during the Nordic women's peace marches in 1980 and on. I've also been a leader of the Norwegian Peace Council in the 80s when we were invited to East Europe. In many peace conferences, both in Moscow, in Prague, in Budapest, and not at least in Berlin, East Berlin. And then, of course, we were all called communists. We were not at all. We were interested in peace. Many of us come from very conservative homes and groups, but as soon as we went over to talk with the so-called enemy, that was not an enemy at all. We were called the communists, and we were of course paid then from the communist countries, what was not true at all. It was all paid from our own pockets. So then we really realized what this enemy picture, what it means and how dangerous it is. But at least Norwegian Peace Movement, it started in 1962, and last November we celebrated our 50 years anniversary for the peace offices. And then we wrote a book, this one called Struggle for Peace, to show episodes and projects that we have had during these 50 years. It all started that Russia tried, not bombs, but they had nuclear explosions up at Nova Scotia, that is quite close to the northern Norwegian border. We had, people were scared, and a young actress, Sonja Lid, she was then pregnant, and she was so scared from these nuclear bombs, or shall we say these nuclear proofs, that she wrote to her husband, we have to do something. He was also an actress, Lars Andreas Larsen, and the two of them, they stopped being actresses and went over to work in a peace office. And what they did was to inform people They had conferences, seminars. They tried to cooperate with media. They tried to find people that also were scared about what was happening. And after some years, it grew up to be 18 peace officers around in Norway. Sonja and Lars Andreas, they stopped working with the peace movement or peace office after 10 years. Then they had to go back to work. And what was also then, we had the Vietnam War, and the peace movement started to go from being non-violent to discuss if they had to use violent methods, weapons. And then Sonja and Lars Andreas said, no, we don't want to go into this discussion, and they went back to the theaters. But then we had already started to form new peace organizations, small ones. One of them was No to Nuclear Weapon. We had also the old ones, for instance, the Norwegian Peace Organization, that was established in 1884. So it was the oldest peace organization in Norway, and maybe also in the world. And we had the International League for Women, for Peace and Freedom. That was formed or established in 1915. And we had more sections in the subjects, issues in the peace organizations from then on. And the peace organizations were growing. And then we come to 1979, where they had the modernization of nuclear weapons from NATO. And then people were really scared. And then there were women here in Norway and in the Scandinavian countries that said we have to do something. Once again, they said we have to do something, and they organized these peace marches against nuclear weapons in East and West. In the 80s, as I told you, there was a lot of engagement, and we cooperated with peace movements in East Europe because we had this Cold War that was so destructive, and we had these enemy pictures between East and West. And we thought that we had to do something about the enemy pictures, and we had to do something against the Cold War. So therefore we cooperated with East Europe, and when we walked this peace march in Russia, we have been told, and we are actually quite sure, that there was a man called Mikhail Gorbachev. He looked at us, he listened to us, he saw what was happening, that we came with peace and not with war. People were embracing us. It was fantastic. It was like a fantastic experience. And then, you know, the Berlin Wall fell in 1989, and it was so-called peace between East and West. Then a new area started. I myself stopped to work so much with peace. I went over to the women's movement, women's empowerment, and I started to visit Eastern Europe countries, including Ukraine, Azerbaijan, Georgia, the Balkan, Estonia, Lithuania, Latvia, with courses for women's empowerment to show how democracies are built up with organizations and so on, a little bit of communication, and maybe most of all, we looked at gender issues, how we educate boys and girls. In Norway, we educate boys and girls more and more in an equal way. It's not like that in East Europe. There, girls are educated to do their women's work and boys to be strong boys and so on. So we talked a lot about gender issues in these courses. So every year I went to East Europe with my courses, and that was extremely interesting, of course. In 2000, then I came back to peace organizations, peace movement, especially when we started to fight wars. Yeah, first of all, we had the wars in the Balticum, Serbia, Bosnia-Herzegovina. Of course, I went there. I was there several times during the wars in 1993, 94, 95. It was terrible what was happening there. It was absolutely terrible what was happening. The propaganda forced people to be enemies, to killing each other, neighbors. It was, what do you call it? It was cleansing racism, absolutely. So we went down there to work with the peace organizations in these countries as well. But in 2000, then I came back to the peace organizations and has been there since, and find it really meaningful to try to show that there are alternatives, to show what non-violence can do and how efficient non-violent resistance is. After 10 years with this huge, broad information from the peace officers, quite many seminars as well, then the peace movement in Norway was actually formed, and then we got these small peace organizations that we also have today with a theme, for instance, nuclear weapon, or conflict solving, or non-violence, or for peace and peace movement for women, etc. So today we have quite many small peace organizations with voluntarily work, because we don't get much money from the society or from the official. We have about 4 million kroners that we get to divide between all the different peace organizations from the foreign policy, while the military, while what they call defense department, and we want to call war department, they have 40 milliards kroner from our tax money. So it's a huge gap between what the military gets and what the peace organizations get. So when people say that Norway is a peace organization, that is actually not true, because we are one of the biggest producers of weapons in the world, next after America and Russia. Also Sweden have a huge production and export of weapons. So this is rather a double standard, calling Norway and Sweden peace organizations, because we are not. The peace organizations are then organized in an umbrella, under an umbrella called Norwegian Peace Council, where there are 20 peace organizations under this umbrella, and to be a member you have to go for non-violence. That is the criteria, that is the basis, to go for non-violence. And what we do is actually having seminars. We have try at least to have research programs, and to show to people what war, how destructive war is, for instance, one of the biggest polluters in the world. War and military intervention do pollute so much that no other sector is so big polluters. That is one thing. Another thing, it was all the destruction and what is created with hate. So much hate is created with these wars that the Western countries, through NATO, is, shall we say, putting up. We have Afghanistan, we have Iraq, we have Libya, and now we have Syria, Mali, that also, all these during the last years, and of course in the 90s, we had Serbia, we had Herzegovina, Bosnia-Herzegovina, and all the Balkans. So NATO is really damaging so much of the world, and people are suffering. So the peace organizations, we are trying to inform people, to tell people what is going on, and we also try to find alternatives that of course is based on non-violence. To teach people non-violence structures, that's very, very efficient. We can look at Martin Luther King, we can look at Gandhi, we can look at Mandela. None of the wars have ever obtained so big success, so good results as these non-violent people or non-violent projects. Look at Mahatma Gandhi. He managed to draw out the British from India, and he actually succeeded with his Salt March, with his non-violent programs, to end the British occupation of India in the 40s. Martin Luther King, he did the same in America. He managed to convert the racism and to make it a real issue. He managed really to not to stop the racism, because that you can never obtain, but he with Rosa Parks and all his movement managed to inform and to visualize what racism is, and he still remembered with his Martin Luther days in America. They celebrate it every year, actually. The same with Mandela. He could easily have gone on to kill all the white people in South Africa, but he didn't. He tried another solution. So non-violence as a conflict solver is very, very efficient and should be listened to by the politicians. And the politicians, if they want peace, they should definitely say no to war. They can't say, yes, we want peace and we want war. That's a double standard. It's absolutely nonsense. You cannot say yes to both, yes, thank you, both to peace and to war. If you say yes to peace, you have to say no to war. And that is also for our politicians. And we have to inform them, and we have to show, we have to visualize how efficient other alternatives to war, that we have other alternatives as well. And that was what these small peace organizations try to do. And with the umbrella Norwegian Peace Council, they have actually quite good connection with the politicians and with the departments and also in the press. What is quite nice is that these many of these peace organizations, they are led by young female, very, very well educated people. So and that also goes for the women's movement. The women's movement here in Norway, they are built up with a lot of small organizations, mostly based on voluntary work because we don't have money. but we try to do our best without money. Therefore, they are small and they choose one subject, one project, one thema for each organization. It's easier to involve when you have one project where you can have the focus. 75 of these women's organizations are under an umbrella called PROSUS, F-O-K-U-S, Focus. And they have 75 women's organizations under their umbrella, and also they have a very good contact with the official Norway, with the politicians in the parliament, with the departments, and we are a small country now, small nation, so it's easy to get in contact with our politicians. That is, of course, Oslo is a very small little city, so it's the contact, we know each other, so that is a privilege that we have here in Norway. We are only 5 million people altogether, you know, and Oslo is a small town of 500,000 people. The parliament is just in the center of Oslo, and our offices are around, so it's easy to get in contact, both physical and mental. And in the parliament today we have 7 parties. We have a coalition of the red wing, where we have 3 parties, and then a coalition of the blue wing, where we have 4 parties. And next September we are going to have an election, this September actually, in 2013. And from having a red coalition for 8 years, we are now surely, there will be a change, and we will have quite a firm coalition, maybe of the 2 most right-wing parties. And of course, many of us are not very happy for this, but that seems to be the fact actually. And what will happen with the peace organization then, we don't know, because they can easily stop the money we are getting from the foreign department every year. They can stop it. They did it last time they were in charge, and they can stop it again, and then we are bad off, because our research programs, they will have official money. And without research programs and research analysis, we can't find the facts that we have to use towards the politicians. And they can also stop the money for the Peace House that we just opened 1 year ago, where we have a place where together, and of course our peace work then will be more efficient when we have the possibility to be together and have good offices. So if the blue, the conservative section, the politicians, want to cut us off because we are disturbing them in their security and military programs, they can very well do it. And of course we are a little afraid they will do it, because they have done it once and they can very easily do it again. But we hope for democracy, we hope for help from the red sectors, from some of the parties, but today we don't have a political party that go for peace. They go for defense, they go for military, and they go for defense and security. And actually many of us don't believe in this security. We don't feel safe with all these drone airplanes, with all the military weapon production, with all the military way of thinking. For us it's not security, it's unsecurity. And we try to tell our politicians that, but they are not listening very well. And then we are of course a member of NATO, and we are the best pupil in the class, because we have so much money to use. We can still keep up with our defense program. We are going to buy 56 of these F-35 aircrafts, to please NATO and to please the European countries that we are strong, we can afford to buy these aircrafts. And what are they going to use these aircraft for? They can take these aircrafts, the F-35 that we are going to buy from America. They can take bombs made of uranium bombs. They can take nuclear bombs. They can take 2 bombs, each of them. Who are we going to bomb? What are we going to use these for? They are not the best aircrafts for defending Norway, for instance, and for what do you call to look around. They are not the best ones. The Swedish airplane was much better for this. It goes faster without noise. These F-35 is very noisy. And they are slower than the other ones because they are much more heavy. So it's not the best one for looking after Norway and the coastline of Norway. That's the Swedish one. And that is from military analysis. The military didn't want these 35, but the politicians want them to have a good relationship, we think, to America. And we are definitely the best class in NATO. We are the best class in being friends with America and also with the European Union, even if the people have said no to membership of the European Union. But still, we have to follow all the European Union's laws and all the directives that they put on us. We do follow them, even if I'm not a member of the Union. That's the politicians, not the people. Not the people. The people are against. The people are still against to be a member of the Union. Actually, 80% of Norwegian people, 78%, I think, are against membership of the European Union. But our politicians, they are very much for. So therefore we are following all the laws, all the directives. We don't put on a veto, even if we may do it, the politicians don't dare to do it. So the conflict between the people and the politicians here in Norway, it's quite strong, but of course we are a democracy, so we do it in a decent way. We are trying to be decent to each other. We try to speak to each other in a decent way. We try to have good discussions without being angry. We try to not confront each other, but we try to put up facts. We try to visualize what is going on. And of course the peace movement, we learn each other how to communicate so we don't have these enemy pictures, but see that it's okay to have different meanings, to have different goals, so we can have a discussion. So we do a lot of education within the peace movement, and I think that's good for us, and it's good for all of us. And we also see that when we are in debates, they are very, shall we say, decent. They are not as we see it very much in Southern Europe. We are not quarreling. Try not to quarrel, because that is destructive. It's negative. We don't solve any problems with shouting at each other. So we try to keep a decent communication, because that is important to gain results. And we see also that the peace movement, we are stronger and stronger because of research, because we can put up facts, we can show to what war is doing with numbers and that these wars, they don't have any result. We didn't obtain anything in Afghanistan. We didn't obtain anything at all in Afghanistan. Not even freedom for women. That was one of the projects that the military wanted to show. They should have freedom for women. We didn't obtain that. After nearly 11 years in Afghanistan, lot of destruction, lot of enemies. For every civil person NATO killed, we have 5 enemies. And what do we do with all these enemies? Hate and terror that is coming up because of the wars that NATO and the Western countries produce or put on other nations, other continents in the world. It's so destructive, and who is going to cope with this? It will be our grandchildren that will have all this hate and destructions on their shoulders. And how will they cope with all the negative results that my generation and the next generation is opposing on the world, on the globe? Also with the environmental destructions. So I'm a member of the Grandmother for Peace. We are very, very scared of what we put forward for the next generation, our grandchildren. We think they will have things that is impossible to cope with, because we can't use weapons on environmental issues. We can't go on killing each other to obtain what? We don't obtain anything by using weapons. And I think we really should think of the next generation, what we are doing. But in public and in media, they never discuss this. They never take it up. They always try to find other things to talk about. They don't look down to what we are doing with the globe and with the world today.